I'll create the virtual machines from here, or I can search it from here also. Virtual machines, and this is the one. Okay, now I'll be creating a virtual machine, right? So there are various options here. You see, we have virtual machines, we have virtual machine scale set, which is used for auto scaling. Then you have compute fleet. And when you create virtual machine, you'll have to associate disks with it or storage with it, because we need the operating system and other softwares to be installed inside of the virtual machine. We can provide capacity placement also. We can use other related services. But first, let us create a virtual machine. Now, when you click on create, there are four options: virtual machine, VM scale sets, presets, and hybrid pre-configured and high volume solutions. Of course, I'll be using the VM option. We'll have to provide the subscription and the resource group. I'll name it as 3IM public VM because I'll be creating this inside of the public subnet. And then it asks for the region, so should be Central India because our VNet is in Central India. We can select the availability zone or zone by ourselves, or we can ask Azure to select it. I'll keep it as is, and this is the image that will be used to create this virtual machine. And by image, I mean what operating system would be installed once the VM is created. So there are various options. We have Ubuntu server, there is SUSE Linux or SLES, Oracle Linux, Red Hat Linux, Windows Server, Debian, and a lot of other options. I'm selecting Ubuntu, and the architecture would be x64, which is Intel based. And here we have the size. Now the size is something that I talked about. We have various different types of sizes like general purpose, compute optimized, storage optimized, memory optimized, etc. It'll also tell you the price that will incur if you keep on running this virtual machine for the entire month. It says the size is standard underscore B1S. So as it is B, it belongs to the general purpose. It is free tier eligible, but it says that the size is currently unavailable in Central India for the subscription that I have created. So I might have to create a separate subscription to use this compute type. But I'll change it. Let me use standard B2 ATS B2, which will give me 4 vCPUs and 1 GB of RAM. And also it will cost lesser. If I keep on running it 24 hours, then it will cost me $4.50 per month, which will be deducted from the $200 credit that I have got. So I've selected this type. You can see all the sizes here. If you click here, the general purpose type, the storage optimized, and all the other sizes. Of course, I'll not select this. Then the authentication type, whether you want to use SSH public key or you want to use password based authentication. I'll be using password based authentication. Let's name the user as 3IM user. I cannot use the number at the beginning, and the password. Then you have public inbound rules, whether I want to allow access from public. You can mention none or allow selected ports. I'm allowing SSH. Make sure to allow SSH or HTTP if you are using web application. Next, we'll have to select the disks. I'll keep it as is. The image default is 30 GB. I'll not change. When you click next, it comes or brings us to the network configuration, which is a very important configuration that we'll have to use. The first is the VNet. You'll have to select the VNet that you have created. In our case, this is the one. And then subnet. Now, subnet should be a public subnet because I want to launch this VM in a public subnet so that I'm able to SSH into it. That's why I'll be selecting this 3IM VNet 1 public subnet 1, and then I can create a public VM IP also. Why do we need a public IP? Because I want to connect to this VM from, let's say, internet using SSH, I should be creating a public IP. So it will be created automatically. As you can see, it says new in the bracket, or else I can create a public IP separately and associate or attach that public IP with this virtual machine. You can select the network security group as advanced, and in that case, we can associate the NSG that we have just created. Make sure to select this, which will delete the public IP and the network interface when the VM is deleted, and it will save cost. So it is running final validation, and once the validation is passed, you can create the virtual machine. Now Azure will deploy the virtual machine in the subnet that I have provided. Let me go ahead and create another VM in the private subnet. I'm naming it as 3IM private VM. The username is same. I'll have to change something in the network. I'll be using the VNet and I'll be using the private subnet, but I'll not be associating any public IP. The reason is that if I associate public IP, then this VM would become a public VM, even though it is inside of a private subnet. So if you're creating a VM in a private subnet, make sure that you do not associate any public IP. And in the NIC security group, I'll select advanced and I'll be attaching the security group that we have created. Everything would be same. Both the VMs have been created. This is the second VM, which is 3M private VM. And as part of this VM, a network interface has also been created. You can look at the type of the resources here in this type column. The first one is the virtual machine and the second one is the network interface. It has created a disk also for the private VM. Similarly, for public VM also, we have the virtual machine, we have the public IP, which is not there for the private VM, but we have network interface card and the disk for the public VM also. And the remaining are the remaining resources that I have created so far. So this is how we can create Azure virtual machines using the portal.